Hi,
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
hi. This is fun. Okay, we have another person here. How are you doing?
Good, nice background.
Thanks.
On brand.
Exactly. I was like, I didn't, I just did it last minute and I happened to have that one on my computer. So,
Cool.
hi, Janet. Janet's here. I'm not sure who Janet is, but hopefully a neighborhood person. How are you doing, Ben? Are you staying safe?
Yeah. Working from home and staying safe, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm fostering a puppy right now, so that's kind of
Oh,
got my hands full with that.
can we see him?
Where'd she go? Reggie. Uh, Reggie. Come on.
Hi, Janet. I just unmuted you.
Hi, I'm tripping out on your background. You're a time traveler.
Uh,
That's our old sign from like 9 years ago.
oh, really?
Yeah,
I just found it online. That's funny.
it's not our actual sign, but
Are you
that's
are
so
you with
funny.
City State?
What's that?
Are you with City State?
Yes, my husband and I own it.
Oh my gosh. That's a coincidence. I just happened to my wife went on with her friend and I just was grabbing random sidewalk cafes. There you are.
Sorry, I think I had something over my camera. I didn't realize it.
Um, it's really a funny coincidence actually. I didn't do it on purpose. Um, and I've been hoping to for you to come to one of our meetings sometimes.
I
So
know. I'm so sorry. I've intended to since like whenever we started corresponding back in October, and finally life has slowed down, right?
right, I see. Um, I think I found a new one. Is it the one that looks like the state of Oregon?
Yes, that's the
Um,
one.
so Ben, this is Janet, and guess what? She's the owner of City State,
Oh, no
which is
kidding.
which is a coincidence. I didn't plan it that way. But
Product placement.
this is an ancient sign. This is the old sign.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. We redesigned it all when we bought it, and that's the sign that we inherited. So it's
oh, that's
funny.
interesting. I
I
didn't know
haven't
you
seen it in,
bought
yeah,
it,
years.
but I'm going to do the new sign now.
Yeah, this is high
Do you
technology.
guys know how to do those backgrounds?
No.
Basically, any picture that's on your computer you can use as a background, and you can
Oh, so
just
I
go
can.
on to Google and download. Like I have some. I'll show you some examples. Um, how about this one?
Oh, nice. I
Yeah,
wish.
and virtually travel the world. Um, so Ben, can you see Ben there? He's on our board of directors, and he's an architect.
Okay.
And I'm the vice chair of Kerns. Oh, let's see, Josie's here. She's
Oh,
on the
cool.
board. Um, I'm new at the moderating these Zoom meetings, um, but um, but we'll see how it goes. Last time we tried Skype, and it was okay, but Zoom is all the rage now. So people are still coming in. So let's just make small talk.
Yeah.
Um, so Ben and I are on the board. I'm the vice chair. I'm a web developer, and I already work from home. Ben, how has the transition been for you working from home?
It's been pretty good actually, really pretty smooth.
Good.
The the main hiccup we're hitting is that we can't put any new permits in at the city of Portland, but we can still keep going
Mhm.
with the ones we've already put in. So, but they're adjusting at city of Portland too. So in another 3 or 4 weeks, they'll have it all set up so that they can do everything remotely too. So yeah, we're all just learning how to ride a bike again, but it's so far so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like slowly but surely everybody's getting the hang of remote living. Now, of course, city state, are you guys doing any takeout or?
We are.
Oh,
We ended up laying off most of our staff, but we kept a small staff open and are doing takeout and delivery. Hey, there we are.
yeah. Um,
I'm impressed. See, you said you're new at the Zoom meeting, but I'm impressed.
Well, I haven't moderated one before like this.
There's a modest moderator.
Modest moderator.
Moderator.
Now, Josie, there's Josie. Hi.
Hi, Josie.
You're
Hi, Josie.
you're number 4. You look like you're outside. Oh, can't hear you. Is your mic on? It looks, you're not muted, so.
Let's see about my.
Can't hear you. Oh, now you're muted. For some reason, you were muted there. Sorry. Unmute. Oh, well, let's unmute. There, yeah, you're not muted. Anyway, I can't hear you. Is your mic on? Or are you on your phone? Phones, there might be a little button that you have to tap to join the voice. When you go on your phone, there's a button that says join computer audio or something. See if I can get a screenshot. Sorry, Janet is the co-owner of City State Diner, and she was telling us about she had to lay off your staff.
Most of our staff, yeah, we kept just 4 people. We laid everybody else off, and we've been, doing a very modest sales with the takeout and delivery, but we're still moving. We're using the time to, just refurbish our interior and do some projects that have been long-standing, needs or things, things that were deeper in the list. So we're doing what we can.
Yeah. I love your restaurant, Janet.
Thank you.
I really do. It's a really great place.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting. We've been so happy. We've had such a lovely staff the last year, and such a hopefully we'll all be able to go back to enough business to hire many of them back. But it's, everybody.
It's a hard time. Yeah. I know.
But thank you so much.
I have a lot of friends in food service through work, through having worked on restaurants, and it's been really hard to see like 6 different restaurants that I've done the drawings for all have to close in the last 6 weeks, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's been some hope. I think like we're gonna get through this, and people are getting really creative with how to get through it.
Yeah. Absolutely. We participated in something that I think there are a couple efforts like this, but that match up donations with restaurants who can serve critical care workers. We participated in one called Frontline Foods, and they matched us up with OHSU, and then we were able to do delivery that way.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so hopefully that's giving a little bit of extra business to the different restaurants too, and the workers that are in need, obviously, of support.
Yeah.
What did we lose, Josie?
I think she's joining in a new way.
Maybe on the computer.
Yeah.
She's cloned herself.
And I'm surprised there aren't more people. But we can have there's Josie again. I thought maybe you'd be on. Oh, okay, now I hear you. Okay, we're 4 for 4 now. Josie's also on our board, and she kind of lives almost across the street from you, so up the street. I was just gonna say, Janet, my wife got laid off, and so she's collecting unemployment now. Plus, they have this extra bonus unemployment. So she's actually making more money than when she had her job. So are your employees able to collect unemployment?
Yes, they are. It's a pretty generous help right now for them. So I think they're okay for the near term, assuming that all comes in.
So even though you had to lay them off, they're still able to get unemployment. So that's good.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
mean, it feels in a lot of ways it's not totally a fair system. Like the people that are working low wage jobs at grocery stores are working their tail off and endangering themselves and not making a lot of money. And I don't know, I wish there was a way that they could get a big boost
yeah.
of all their safety equipment.
Yeah.
So
Some stores have stepped up. Grocery outlets stepped up.
they're paying more.
Well, I don't know about what they're paying, but they stepped up in their safety precautions, you know, putting them by the register and that type of thing.
That's good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, it's really tricky. It's great that there's all that support, but there are some of the people who are still working are
In danger.
a little in danger.
I
Yeah.
actually helped a friend that got laid off in our industry, and I had to help him get his unemployment straightened out and some other stuff today, because he really didn't know. Not everyone knows how to get in there and do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely have to jump through some hoops, that's for sure.
But anyway, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I've been going to Whole Foods on Laurelhurst Whole Foods, and it's been really empty and it feels really clean and lots of distance and everything. So I'm super grateful for that store. How about you guys? Where have you been getting your food?
Winco, Fred Meyer, Whole Foods. That's
Oh, sorry, Josie.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just chiming in. We've been going to the QFC near our house, and it's actually, they're doing a good job. They're doing a really good job. And then we just did a pickup order from Fred Meyer that worked really well. You kind of have to do it about a week out, but then that was a good way to stock up.
A week out is a little long, though.
I know, you have to, yeah, kind of have to plan it, I guess.
Yeah.
I went down to Sheridan Fruit Company, and they actually had a lot of stuff in stock that other places didn't. Like they still had disinfectants and toilet paper, that kind of thing. I don't know if I should tell everybody about that.
Yeah, where is that?
Sheridan. It's Sheridan Fruit. They're down on Oak and MLK.
Okay.
It's a great store. It's just like an old school kind of market, not like a supermarket, but they've got a great butcher there too. Tons of really good sausage and that kind of stuff. But I stocked up on a lot, and they have a lot of produce. So.
Oh, good to know.
And they've been, they got like, straight. They've got demarcated, 6 feet on the waiting for the checkout, and everything's very sanitized and yeah, very very clean. So I like that place. Yeah.
Good. Is everybody's family healthy and safe?
So far.
Yeah. And I don't have a family, so I'm fine. I did hear about some distant family, though, where someone was in the hospital for COVID, but he's doing better now.
Oh, good.
Good. I can't hear Riley and Russ. I keep clicking unmute and they won't unmute. So Riley and Russ, if you can hear me, you might have to join the computer audio. There.
Oh, hi. So just a new resident in the neighborhood, kind of wanted to listen in on the meeting, see how everything's going, and get it.
Cool.
Obviously weird times, but just we're in the middle of cooking also, so I wanted to mute myself. So there's not.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to have some new people using the Zoom than we normally get.
Yeah.
Okay, Russ is just listening. Okay, no problem. We don't really have a lot of people, so we're being pretty informal here. But Janet, since you're, I've been corresponding with you via email, and maybe we can talk about city state. And I mean, it's a little odd right now because everything's closed, but eventually things will open back up. I do want to say that we had another restaurant join our meeting a couple of months ago. Remind me the name, Josie or Ben, the restaurant.
Patterson.
Patterson, the new one?
Patterson, right. Do you know the owners of Patterson?
Embarrassingly, I've not met them yet. No.
Oh, that's okay. It's not, but you know, one thing that we've talked about in our neighborhood meetings has been trying to get the restaurants more involved in the neighborhood association, and there's not currently a business association, and so there's discussion about whether we could include that within our neighborhood association or help you guys start up your own. I wonder what your thoughts are about that.
That sounds like a good idea. It's not my area of knowledge, but I think it's a good thing to do. Yeah, I didn't know if this was, I didn't know exactly what the organization, you know, if it was for businesses or for everyone. I got the impression it was just for everyone in the neighborhood.
Well, including businesses. It's for residents and businesses and workers in the neighborhood. Anybody who works or lives in the neighborhood. And a lot of neighborhoods have a business association and a neighborhood association, but a few years ago, our business association closed. Dozie, were you around when that happened, or?
I was. I mean, it's been on and off for years where, you know, that's just a norm for that thing, that particular organization. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it was that they couldn't agree on a lot of things. That was part of it, from what I can remember. It's a while back.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can recall, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, a lot of trouble meeting because they don't have time. They don't have time to really meet. So, you know.
Yeah, that's what we've found. We've been guilty of that. I mean, we kind of came onto the into the business community, like, this is our 9th year, but we were fortunate to be pretty busy out of the gate, and we've just kind of been juggling our balls and haven't been as outbound. That's why I, you know, reached out. I was trying to get a little more connected with what's going on in the larger community and connect with people. But you know, I feel like there's a mix of older businesses and newer businesses and things coming and going, and it's hard to keep up, meet anyone, or even necessarily be aware of everything that's going on the streets nearby. It's, you know, that's not great, but it feels true for me. I think I'd like to know more of what everyone's up to and how everyone's thinking about the neighborhood and planning.
Yeah, the only thing negative I heard about our neighborhood recently was something about a shooting at 3 a.m. on 28th and Stark. Did anyone else hear about that? That kind of was scary for me to hear that.
Oh gosh, no.
I read about it in the news. I read about it, but I don't know any more information.
Yeah, you didn't hear anything then that night, Dave.
I didn't hear anything. It's a little bit, it's about 5 blocks from my house. I live over on 29th and Ankeny. That was that was over on Stark and 28th near Baby Doll Pizza.
Right. I mean, that's pretty close.
Yeah, but far enough, I guess, that I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I didn't hear it
either. Yeah, I mean, it's always scary when incidents like that happen.
It was scary to me because it was so close, and we never have anything like that.
I know. We're lucky.
Was that, how recent was that?
Last Sunday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was just scary to hear that. And at first I thought, oh, I didn't hear it right. It couldn't be our neighborhood. But no, it is. What
I read was that they were kind of shooting as they drove down Stark. So they weren't, they didn't have one target. They just kind of were shooting as they went.
Well, the problem is it's property damage and car damage, and someone could have been killed.
Oh, easily, yeah.
You know.
But I guess what I'm saying is my sense is that they were just out a joyride. They thought it was fun or something, as opposed to necessarily targeting anyone specifically. I mean, it's very dangerous, but I didn't hear of anybody who was injured or worse.
Yeah, well, I guess one woman, the bullet went through the apartment and through her mattress, so she almost could have gotten it.
Did you read that in the news or did you hear about it?
I saw it or read it somewhere, you know, and that's what kind of freaked me out when I heard the details. And then, you know, cars that are parked along there, they have bullet holes in them, you know. Well, that's kind of scary. I mean, nobody wants that happening to their property.
Not at all.
Or themselves. So, but anyway, enough of that. I just thought I'd, you know,
Well, there's
been on my mind.
It's good to talk about things in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Dave, that's sort of a related. Does Officer Fox have any way to tap into this, or are they kind of on hold on our call? I mean, yeah.
I didn't reach out to him. I suppose I should have. That would have been nice if he could have tapped in. Janet, every month there's a police officer that joins our meeting at the beginning. He usually kind of says the same thing every week. Watch out for car prowlers. Don't leave your valuables in the car.
That's what I'm saying. Now he finally had a red letter day, and he's not here. You know?
Well, I don't know what he would really say, but there's also someone posted there's a growing homeless camp at Laurelhurst Park, which is outside of our neighborhood, but there's also the camp over by the Wendy's, which is in our neighborhood. And they don't, you know, I've heard that it's just they're growing and growing all over town, and that they don't really do anything about them. So
they really don't, because I had to call about someone near my house not too long ago, and if they say that they're all right, the police just leave them there. So
yeah, we have a lot of problems without solutions right now. It seems like.
Yeah. So what about some of those other things on the agenda? You know, the house situation, or?
Well, that was that house that we discussed last month. I don't know if anyone here was there last month. There's a building near the Wendy's that's like a single family house that's going to be torn down, and they're going to build a 19-unit apartment there. And a lot of the neighbors are not very happy about that. But the zoning totally allows it. And as a matter of fact, it's zoned for much higher density than 19
it is.
units. So, you know, a lot of neighbors had to just realize that there's nothing to be done. That's just the city of Portland is bringing in higher density. And, you know, we talked to the architect and the project manager, and, you know, I mean, I think it'll be a really nice apartment. Ben, do you know Wright Architects?
Yeah.
John Wright, yeah.
Yeah, I actually do know John. Yeah, he's a cop. I mean, we haven't worked on any projects together, but I've just met him through same circles, I guess.
Yeah, he seemed really cool, and he was
a great guy. Yeah,
he was. Architects really are always squeezed between the developer and the public and the city and the county and the zoning. And when I looked into being an architect a long time ago, and it felt like it's a really hard position to be in, because you're trying to kind of please your client and the public and everybody, and you end up kind of pleasing nobody sometimes, seems like.
But I did want to say, I read, I clicked on that next door link that, you know, you sent out with this whole topic, and I think you had a really good, succinct summary of what the neighborhood association's position is. First and foremost thing is that we need more housing, but also that the whole point of this neighborhood association is to be a place for people to voice their grievances, and also, you know, try to find some common ground, and be a place for the developer and the architect and the public to communicate. So, you know, which is, I think it's much more immediate, and it's much more useful when that's through the neighborhood association, because online in comments it just inevitably ends up becoming so negative, and, you know, people get it's harder to, it's easier to misinterpret things, and, you know, you can sort of jump to conclusions about people's intentions when you just see something, when you just get something online. So
Mhm.
that was good. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough situation. And it's a good point too that they could build something much larger there than what they're proposing.
Yeah, there is the one fact though that as soon as you hit 20 units, that some of them have to be affordable, and so they stopped at 19 units. So there is a little bit of a sense of like, well, to me though, that's kind of a city problem to have that loophole there.
It has happened. That exact thing is happening all over the city of Portland right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, on your typical 50 by 100 Portland lot, it's hard to get much more than 20 units anyway. Like that is really it's kind of a self-limiting size. Just or 20 or 25 by 100, whatever this lot is. It's like it's not a huge site. So.
But I think they should change the regulations so that at smaller units still have to have some affordable units. It feels like a loophole to me.
It absolutely is. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a loophole. Yeah. I think it should be lower. It should be 10 or,
Yeah. Or even, 2. One should be affordable.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
But yeah, so that I think that and Janet, talking about our neighborhood association, it's just a really good place to kind of convey information between the city and the county and the different agencies and the people of the neighborhood, including the businesses, and just a conduit of communication. And just even this forum that we're having with just 6 people, where there's some valuable things going on. I'm really glad that you joined. I do want to circle back to what we were saying about the restaurants, because I mean, we're a mecca for restaurants. Kerns, 28th and Burnside and the Zipper. And by the way, Ben, weren't you involved with the Zipper?
Yeah, I did the drawings for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ben
and Provador and all those restaurants between Gleason and Sandy on 24th, basically. Yeah.
I mean, we're such a mecca for restaurants, and I can't believe that there's not an organization of the restaurants to communicate with each other. A lot of neighborhoods have like a brochure, like a guide to the neighborhood, for example, which we could have, or like a website of a guide to eating in Kerns. There's just so many possibilities, and I would love to see some sort of a restaurant association or business association. And I know everyone's super busy, and people don't really have time for it. It seems like maybe that's really why there isn't one. But and maybe would you say that is it that you don't need new business? I mean, are you getting so much business that you don't need more, or during the good times?
I think that's a difficult thing to ever say. I mean, we've been lucky that we've been pretty busy consistently since we opened, but at the same time, it is more of a function of just not being able to quite get to that level of it. Just we just don't quite get to that level.
Maybe there's not a strong need. Like there's not that much that you really need from a restaurant association.
I don't know though. As soon as you say that about a map and giving people access to just kind of the overview of our neighborhood, it seems like, oh yeah, why doesn't that already exist? How could we do that?
Yeah. It's because nobody takes the initiative, but maybe if we could introduce you to the owner of Patterson, for example.
Right.
She was a really cool person, and she has a lot of history in the restaurant business. And after that meeting, I went and ate at Patterson, and I had a really good experience there. And have you guys been there?
I haven't been there yet. I know some of our staff had been there, but I haven't been there yet.
You were there, Ben?
I went one time, yeah.
Yeah. Did you like it, or?
Yeah, it was cool. It's quirky. It's not as polished as like some of the new places that are opening up. Right. I like that about it.
It's totally old school Portland. It's like instant old school Portland. You feel like it could have been there for 30 years, but it's been there for 1 year.
I was surprised that they had just opened. Yeah, it didn't feel like fresh paint, but not in a bad way. It felt real.
It reminded me of Dots back before their fire in the 90s. they're still funky, but before their fire, they were even more funky. But yeah, I mean, I would love to like get all the restaurant owners connected and get some sort of organization going and discuss maybe, you know, something we've talked about a lot is like banners. It would make sense to put banners.
I don't want to overstep my thing, but I've been a graphic designer and an illustrator for
Oh.
years too. And I always think that we should have banners going down the street.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Joe's
a
is
lot-
a graphic
Here, that's
designer
what
too.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I understand. I know it'd be a neat thing to do or have done, you know?
And, you know,
About
didn't
a
there used to be
Just
banners?
sculpt them out of metal.
What's that?
We should sculpt them out of metal, not cloth. So they
That would be
last.
lovely.
Yeah, that's what Jay has been saying. Oh, I just noticed we have some newcomers, and I hope I didn't miss one of them. I might have missed.
Oh, sorry.
That's one thing. As the host, it doesn't beep or anything when there's newcomers.
Oh,
But yeah, Jay, the chair, has said that in the Beaumont neighborhood they have metal signs, and we've been saying that we should do metal so they don't, you know, disintegrate.
You're right. That would be lovely.
So I hope that this new person can join. I'm trying to figure out who it is.
I don't know. I see someone
Linda.
flash on.
Yeah,
There's someone named Russ who I think was here, and then this is a new person with,
Linda.
I don't see a name yet.
I see the name Linda. Russ has said that he's just listening. And then Riley we saw briefly, and I think he's just listening.
Oh,
Somebody-
yeah, Linda.
Janet.
Janet's here
Okay.
talking, but then Linda is joining. So maybe, anyway. Well, so Janet, should I start an email thread maybe with you and the owner of Patterson and the board to try to discuss connecting the restaurant owners together?
Sure, why not? Why not? We all have more time than we're used to,
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I have more time to start a conversation.
Yeah, you know, I mean, to me, it would be like some central place for everyone to communicate, maybe a website, like listing all the restaurants.
Mhm.
Well, there's two things. There's businesses and there's restaurants, but I feel like it would make a lot of sense to do restaurants. See, like a map of all the restaurants in Kerns. We could join forces with.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I say two different maps, one for the businesses and one for the restaurants.
Mm-hmm. But would
Yeah.
they be maybe two different organizations or sub-organizations?
I think they should be because they're very different.
Yeah, they are different. And then also I'm wondering if they should join forces with Buckman, which would be like along Burnside, like 50 Licks, and all the restaurants on the south side of Burnside are in the Buckman neighborhood.
Right. But they're so close.
But I mean, I don't know if there are that many Buckman neighbor restaurants. Maybe they could just be included in the Kerns group, now that I think about it.
They're so close.
They're close.
They're close, and a lot of times if a place is within like 100 feet of a neighborhood, then they're kind of considered part of that neighborhood. Linda, I don't know if you can hear us. We can see that you're kind of there. Oh, we have another person who's named Maya, who's also joining. Oh, there's Maya. Hi. I can't hear you. You're not muted. Technical. I get the feeling like after a few months of this, everyone will be an expert at it, and then we'll all be able to go back to normal. But maybe we'll be ready for the next pandemic.
Well, hopefully this is the last one.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So as a person who's never been to this meeting before, what is the normal format when you're meeting at the school? Is it usually about what size a group is it? And then how do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the format is that we actually have an agenda, and it starts out with, we also have pizza from Pizzicato. They give us a discount, and we have a couple of pizzas that our chairman brings in. So we kind of, everyone grabs some pizza and sits around, and then we go around in a circle and introduce ourselves. There's 12 board members, and usually about, I don't know, 8 of them show up. And then several members of the community, there's some who always show up. And then there's guest speakers and presenters who show up. They kind of often come and go. And then there's also the police officer we mentioned. And he comes and kind of introduces him, or just kind of checks in at the beginning for about 5 minutes. But we usually have 2 or 3 guests. Kind of, I would consider you to be a guest of this meeting, even though you're not, you weren't on the agenda, but I've been wooing you to this for a long time.
And intending to come.
And you know, City State is obviously a wonderful part of our neighborhood, so it's really good to have you here. But you know, we often have, like, there's new developments that are coming in and people want to discuss it. We have people from the city or the county. Our state representative comes in, Rob Noss. It's, you know, to me, it's fascinating. To a lot of people, I think it would be kind of boring. I mean, it's like civics 101, basically. But we have a great board. Josie, Ben, and everyone else are just really interesting people, and a lot of collective knowledge about things. And, you know, like, Josie, how long have you been involved with the neighborhood association?
Oh man, you know, I don't know the exact year count off the top of my head, but it's been quite some time. You know, it's been quite some
time.
Maybe
Yeah.
10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, you've probably seen a lot of different things come and go, huh?
Definitely.
I'm pretty new.
And then I've lived here, you know, since 1995. So I've seen,
Wow.
you know, before there were restaurants here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very different back then.
Very different.
I moved to the neighborhood in 2001, so a little later, but still I've seen a lot of change. And Ben, you're pretty new, right?
Yeah, I've been coming to the KNA for about 3 years, but I've been in Portland since 2013 and pretty much been within a 10-block radius of here that whole time. So first I was in Buckman, but then I moved up to Kerns, and and I rent. I live in an apartment, but also work in Kerns. So live and work in Kerns. But I work for a small firm. We're on 25th and Sandy. But yeah, it's fun to see that sometimes too, because there's all this talk with neighborhood associations. There's a lot of people have this misconception that it's all property owners. But what I like about Kerns Neighborhood Association, at least, is the one I have the most experience with, which is there's a good amount of people that come to the meetings every week that either only work in the neighborhood or rent in the neighborhood and don't own property, but they're still interested in hearing what's going on and participating in that conversation.
I think that's a good thing, because it was, like you're saying, it was mainly homeowners 10 years ago. That was pretty much coming to the meeting. But, you know, the neighborhood, you know, the demographics, it's pretty much people renting, you know. So, you know, that's really what should be coming. They should be trying to shape the neighborhood, because, you know, it's pretty much, that's the demographics of Kerns. You know, and their concerns should be heard and voiced.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants and restaurant owners and restaurant workers. Maya, would you like to say anything?
Oh, sure. I've been to a neighborhood association meeting a few times in the past, but not recently. And so then when I saw that it was going to be online, I thought, well, maybe I'll just stop by for a while rather than walking. I have been to the Pacific Crest School and taken advantage of the free pizza. I've lived in the neighborhood, let's see, 26, more than 25 years now. I live directly across the street from Da Vinci Middle School. So, and was there when it was other PPS as well as federal teen parent programs when I first moved into the neighborhood. And I have, the school in part has motivated me to go to the neighborhood association meetings to inquire about the traffic plan for Da Vinci, because it has been challenging over time, and tried to work with the principal there. But I have seen a lot of changes through the neighborhood, through the years, and taken part in the painting of the Kerns neighborhood logo in the intersection of 24th and Everett. So I think I'm actually in a picture of it on the neighborhood association website. Anyway, and I'm not as involved in some ways as I'd like to be because of time, but I just want to say hello to everyone. I'm currently unemployed, looking for start a new job search on February 1, so it's great timing. But anyway,
what field are you in?
I most recently was a development director, so fundraising for nonprofit. Previous to that, I was a reporter for the Oregonian for 21 years, so have journalism and communications in my background. And seeing a lot of changes in the neighborhood along Sandy, and then with the restaurants and whatnot. And now the Green Mile businesses is interesting to me. So, and then all the multifamily housing, and interested in whether or not, like to hear more from a neighborhood association perspective of how that's addressing actual housing needs across a range of income levels, because my concern is they're adding housing stock, but is it meeting the needs of a range of folks in terms of affordability? I'll stop yammering now. Sorry about that.
No, it's great to hear your input.
And I've been to the wonderful picnic multiple times with my family, and
great. Well, welcome. I'm glad that you were able to join online. I wish we could get Linda. I see her picture, but I don't even know if it keeps saying she's trying to connect.
Yeah.
But
you might remind folks that they can always, if they're having trouble with the audio through the Zoom app, they can always call in, and a lot of times that's more that's effective. I've had problems before.
Oh, okay. Let me see if there's a phone call they can call. I don't know.
It usually means they haven't turned it on. That was my problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And some people like Riley, it's by choice. He's there.
Yeah, it's no
There's
problem.
Riley. Your ears were ringing.
Yes.
Yeah, you were just by choice, just kind of listening in, right?
Yeah, we were just finishing up dinner, and I came off the meeting, so I didn't think it was going to be super appropriate to try to mix and match those things. But
well, we usually have pizza at the meetings, so it's okay to eat during it. As a matter of fact, I forgot I have some food here. I might eat some. Do you have some things to share with us, Riley? Your perspective on everything?
My wife and I just moved into the neighborhood a couple months ago.
Nice.
We moved back, or I am from Portland originally, grew up here. I have been living in other cities for the last 10 years. So we moved back in September, really excited to be here. And, really felt out the neighborhoods that we wanted to be in. And we found Kerns, and we're basically only looking here once we found it. So we're really excited to be here. We are just trying to get a feel for the neighborhood, get the pulse of what's going on, the community issues and things that people care about, so that we can participate, get involved. I was previously on the Seattle Bike Advisory Board, so I care a lot about like transportation advocacy. But these days there's a host of things that are going on that I think that the COVID has really thrown a wrench in our sense of the way that communities operate. So there's going to be a whole new set of things that people are wrestling with after this, and I think that it'll be interesting to tackle. I work.
Riley, did you grow up in the Kerns neighborhood, or what neighborhood did you grow up in?
I grew up in Eastmoreland, so way at the edge of the city, but yeah, it's nice to be back.
Well, thanks for coming in on the video just now.
Of course.
Even though it's a small group, I find it fascinating, and I feel like we're getting some things accomplished here. So. Anyone else have some ideas or thoughts to share?
I just wanted to mention, yesterday I was walking around the neighborhood. I walked on 24th, and I saw Jay, our illustrious president, just sitting in his driveway, and we ended up having a really nice conversation for like half an hour, just properly distanced. But it was really nice, and it was a good reminder to me that like one of the nice things about this neighborhood association is like knowing people, but to run into them, and then it's so hard to find in-person contact these days. But to be able to have that experience yesterday was really meaningful, and like just really really great. Just to talk to somebody that I knew from that, and to be outside the context of the meeting was nice too, because we just sort of had some small talk.
Yeah, Jay is fascinating.
He's a really interesting guy.
I live right around the corner from him and Mary.
Jay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Janet, I don't know if you know Jay Harris. He's the board director. He's a jazz drummer, and he has this jazz trio, and they travel around the world playing jazz. If you look at his resume, he's played with a lot of famous people over the years. He has a PhD in education, and he was like co-founded a school at one point. And his wife is a naturopathic doctor, and he knows a lot about the neighborhood too. So,
oh wow,
very interesting guy.
Yeah, interesting guy.
Yeah, it's a great neighborhood. I mean, this is such a colorful neighborhood, and so many great people and businesses, and we've been challenged to expand the neighborhood association, but obviously this COVID thing isn't helping. But I mean, on the other hand, some of you are new on this Zoom call, and maybe you wouldn't have been able to make it to in person. So, in theory, we could have a grid of 100 people on here, maybe next month.
When you say challenge to expand, can you elaborate on that a little bit, what that means?
Sure. Well, so our neighborhood, Josie puts out the newsletter every month, and she's been putting these demographics of the neighborhood. And I believe we have 8,500 residents of Kerns. Does that sound right, Josie?
Somewhere in there right now.
We have over 8,000 people living in Kerns, and then we also have hundreds, or if not thousands, of people working in Kerns. But our neighborhood association meetings has, if we're lucky, 20 people,
Right.
And one of the things we've been trying to work on is banners all over the neighborhood that say Kerns neighborhood, because I'd say the majority of people in the neighborhood, if you said, what neighborhood are you in, they probably wouldn't know. In my head, I started realizing there's probably 10 or 15 businesses in Kerns that actually use the word Laurelhurst in their name.
Right.
And almost nobody uses the word Kerns in their name. The Laurelhurst Theater is in Kerns, the Laurelhurst Whole Foods is in Kerns, Laurelhurst Market is in Kerns. So we really have a kind of a branding issue. And just, we represent a kind of a form of democracy where we don't have a huge sway over things, but we have a little bit of clout over, parking issues and transportation and building issues. And we could have a lot more clout if more people participated. I just think civics isn't cool in America. It's just not sexy, you know, and neighborhood associations, just people don't think, oh, I'm gonna, I mean, I lived in my house for like 15 years before I even knew about the neighborhood association. So we really need, you know, I feel like Josie and I and Ben have been trying to brainstorm, how do we get the word out, you know, and we actually have an initiative of this postcard that we're gonna try to send to every single resident in the neighborhood. And we haven't really gotten too far with that.
Well, I designed something, but you know, I haven't gotten feedback. I haven't really sent anything out, and you know, with this, and then not getting any more funding. You know, we have to have a meeting about that. Are we still going to proceed or what? You know.
Did you find out something about the funding? Because I guess I haven't heard that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I sent an email out a long time ago. We didn't get any extra funding for it, so that's yeah.
We applied for it, but we didn't get it.
Was that from the Office of Neighborhood Associations?
That's Uplift through them.
Southeast Uplift. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've kind of changed who they're giving stuff to as far as funding goes. They wanted to be more diverse and some other criteria, you know, and I tried to write some of that in when I was applying for it, but you know, after I looked and saw what won, I had no chance of really getting, you know, any money from what I saw. So that's just my take on it. And we can do that further.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of outreach could be framed because of a genuine interest in increasing members and the leadership and the engagement with diverse members of the neighborhood.
You know, I went to the office and applied, and I sat down with Christine and, you know, actually did it, you know, and conversed and everything. But from what I gather and what I saw in the end, it pretty much looked like you have to reach out to a certain audience, you know. And, you know, I'm trying to reach out to the neighborhood, period. I'm not trying to reach out to, you know, people of Asian descent or, you know, that kind of thing, you know. So that's what I thought was kind of interesting, you know. I think that's probably why I didn't get the funding, because I wasn't specific to reach out to one population or something. That's kind of what they're after.
Interesting, because I thought our goal was to do a blanket mailing to everyone in the neighborhood.
My goal, that's what I want to do, but I think that's why we didn't get the funding, because I noticed all those other things that got it, they were focused on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know.
May I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What my newbie question. So what are funding sources that are available to the organization? Like, say we wanted to make some signs, some metal signs or otherwise, or
I applied for a fund through Southeast Uplift because they had an extra fund. You know, the communication fund, that I'm already doing, and it's not a lot of money. But they had some other money, and it ended up there was only $3,000 in that. And so they didn't have much money in the pot for that. So we're really looking at funding it ourselves. And, you know, being a graphic designer, you probably know what the budget of something like that would be. It's about $3,000, I would say, $3K, somewhere in there. So, and you know, that would have to come out of our budget, you know.
We do have money. We do have money in the bank, like $6,000, and we've been sitting on it for the whole time I've been involved. For like
that, we want to think about: do we want to do it for that, or do we want to do banners, or what do we want to do? You know.
I mean, I think if we can recruit a bunch more people, then we can leverage those people to help us do fundraising and help us do things in the neighborhood that are worthy of fundraising. Like
GoFundMe accounts, we can start thinking about that. There's other options, you know.
I'm also wondering if there's a way, again, I'm sorry, I'm not offering my services, but I'm offering to help because fundraising is my background. In terms of as a professional. So, you know, if folks would be amenable to have some, like a postcard sponsored, you know, if Whole Foods would be willing to sponsor it and just have a very discreet, small advertisement on the bottom of the postcard, they may be interested.
City State, maybe.
Yeah. or other
Those guys.
businesses. You could probably
That's
fit
where
a-
we get some sponsors. Well, we need to recruit you to help us with that.
well, I can help on some discrete projects, but just so
No.
you know, I can't take on a leadership role. But I'm just thinking like a postcard size, you could maybe fit 3 little thumbnail ads.
Oh,
on
but
there.
you have to actually go
And
out and get
sponsor.
them to do it. You know, you
Yes.
have to
Yeah.
meet with them
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
who, and you have to know who to meet with, and you know,
Yes. Yes, I know.
fun,
So-
fundraising is not my background, so you know.
So I would be willing to help with that. And the
Okay.
other thing I help with my journalism background, which is really key, is the content on the postcard. So
Right.
the messaging that you want to
know-
get out to every single Kerns resident. I do think it's interesting, the banners, not to get sidetracked, because I know like people are familiar with the 28 Feast banners.
Yeah.
I will say
Right.
when I moved into the neighborhood 26 years ago, the real estate agent had listed our property as Lower Laurelhurst, because that was kind of like the wannabe type advertising they were doing at the time.
Right. Right.
So
That they could charge a little bit more for the property at the time. That's what they were doing.
Maya,
A little market ploy.
could you tell us about those 28 Feast banners? Because I remember them, and then they came down at some point, right?
yeah, I was out walking my dog the other day and I saw one. It must have fallen down. It was ripped up and it was just on the sidewalk on Everett. So
Are there still those banners up?
I think there's maybe a couple. I haven't looked up, you know.
I feel like I saw a mangled one that's still hanging near the Laurelhurst Theater on the far side of 28th on the.
Does anyone know the history of those banners, or what
Yeah, well,
28 Feast is?
They
Well,
look old
28
though.
Yeah, 28 Feast is when that row was the first restaurant row in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a number of restaurants, and where Labuca is now used to be called 28 East was that restaurant. And that was kind of maybe the first high-end restaurant on that row before they started gaining momentum. So
Yeah, I forgot about that name.
yeah.
So that'll be maybe 10 years ago, or how long ago, Maya?
No, more than 20.
Oh, okay.
When I first, I mean, my husband thinks it's great because he says it's increased our property values to have all these high-end restaurants in, and they've kind of shifted. They've kind of downshifted because they're nice, but they're not. There's a difference, say, between Navarre and Guerrero Tortas in terms of clientele, or just kind of overall restaurant bill price point. But there was a variety of different businesses on that street, and I lament them nostalgically because there was just more kind of diversity of kind of quirky shops on that street. Before now, they're pretty much just restaurants with a little bit of some little variety gift shops.
There's still some variety. There's the Staccato Gelato and the Alma Chocolates and the
Right.
Zim Zim, and so there's a lot of amazing. And,
Yeah.
And you know that Janet is the co-owner of City State. Did you know
Right.
that? Yeah.
Right. I discerned that. So yeah.
Which by coincidence, I had a picture behind me.
Yeah.
I just wanted something from Kerns, and I just put that out, and it's a coincidence. But I had the old sign, and then I switched it to the new sign. But well, it's great to hear the history of the neighborhood. I mean, I moved in 2001, and it was already Labuca, so it must have been before 2001. When I first moved in, Crema Bakery, I live right by Crema Bakery. It used to be called Florio Bakery, and then it switched to Crema. And of course, the Blue Goose restaurant used to be Esparza's, which is legendary. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing neighborhood, and I feel like we deserve better branding than we have. And the people who live in the neighborhood deserve to understand the neighborhood we're in, and how they can take advantage of this neighborhood association as a conduit between them and the city. You know, there's so many things happening with the city and the county and all these government agencies that are kind of a mystery to people.
And that's one messaging point that I think in particular is important to note on any kind of postcard, which is the role of the neighborhood association in land use. Because land use, I mean, the neighborhood associations have a defined role in terms of how the city approaches them. Plus, it's also a key concern of a lot of residents. So I think I just recommend that be a key feature in any kind of communications you do on the postcard. But Janet, I was just gonna note really quickly. So when 28 East was there, where Lubuka is now, you might appreciate this. It was a nice, kind of one of the first high-end restaurants in the area, higher end. And then it lasted a few years. And then I read when it, you know, kind of the post-mortem, the owner said, I will never go start a restaurant again if I have to answer to investors. So he apparently found that, you know, their expectation on turning a profit, whereas he wanted to plow some of the profits back into building the restaurant. It was just that challenge. So.
Yeah.
Janet, do you have any thoughts on adding a second city state, you know, like expanding the franchise? Have you thought about that?
We've talked about it a lot, and and at the same time, and you know, and certainly people do that in town. We have a brand that has traction, but it's always been an issue of time. This is I don't know. I feel like we're keeping up with a cart that's, you know, just continuously going, and it's hard to imagine having a couple of them. So it's always been sort of just not wanting to get run over by the cart. I think it would go well, but I think my husband and I both fear that it would take over. If we expanded. I don't know. I mean, I think it's very doable in the world. That's just I think that's not our first skill set, expanding out into so I think it's a little intimidating too. To answer your question honestly.
How about expanding the space of your restaurant? Do you ever think about that?
Oh, if it could be expanded, yeah, that's something that would be easy. Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I think it was Taqueria Nueve tried to expand, and then something went wrong, and then they had to close some things, and then they moved. You guys know about that?
No.
No.
Well, it used to be where, it was the Sudra was Tapalaya, and before that it was called Taqueria Nueve. And they were super successful, and then they tried to expand, but it didn't work out. So they had to close that restaurant, but then they reopened over by like Sandy and 14th down by Grand Central Bowl. So they are reopened, but we lost them in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
I never heard the expansion story, so that's interesting.
That was my understanding, is like they tried to expand too fast. This happens a lot when places try to expand and then it doesn't work out. So it's smart to not want to expand just for the sake of adding new franchises. I was just curious. I mean, you have a very strong brand.
I think right now everyone's trying to stay afloat. They're not thinking about expansion at the moment, Dave.
Well, not right now. Not right now. Everybody's
they're engrossed in, well, we need to operate again. When is the ETA for that?
No, everything's frozen right now, but on the other hand, you could be writing up some plans.
Right, absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Could be.
Yeah.
Another thing actually that I've been thinking about when we look for sponsorship for this mailer, we could be thinking about people that are in essential services like Whole Foods that are in like record sales right now. I mean, no restaurant is going to be able to sponsor a mailer, but places that are doing record sales might be able to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fred Meyer, or I guess Fred Meyer is in Hollywood technically. Yeah, that wouldn't work. But
Yeah, Fred Meyer's in Hollywood.
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, yeah.
They've been, yeah.
Yeah, but I would say that if you want to get sponsorship, you know, we're Hollywood adjacent, so to speak. So I mean, like,
You're right.
they draw their customers from Kerns, right? 3 minutes
Sure.
from my house. So
True.
I don't think you need to have them actually be located per se.
Yeah.
Like the Hollywood Fred Meyer, they get a lot of Kerns customers. That's what
Yeah. And they could get even more if they put their ad on a mailer to everybody in Kerns. Yeah.
There you go.
Ah.
Although I would rather keep Kerns businesses myself.
Yes, I think that you start with them,
Yeah.
and those with the budget for that, you know, that possibly have a budget for it. I'm just saying that, you know, if you go through those and you strike out, then you might try a larger company.
Yeah.
But we do have a nest egg currently in the bank from past fundraising, so of like $6,000. So we have something to go on. If you know, right now what we need are people and ideas and time to. I mean, we've been trying this for like a year at least, right, Josie and Ben?
I'd say so, and trying to meet with everyone to talk about it. I mean, it's been canceled several times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
is
think we're
there-
just too
Is
busy.
there a strategic plan, like a multi-year strategic plan? I know you have some
No.
kind of formal annual budget adoption process. But
No,
I'm just wondering.
I mean, I'm good at marketing and graphic design, but no, I'm not a planner and I'm not a fundraiser. So that's not my area. Be nice, you know, to get some key ideas about those things, because that's not, you know what I mean? That's not my area.
Yeah, because I just think that that's a great solid nest egg, but I think it would help if you would have some type of multi-year strategy, and what part of it is outreach, like, you know, with the postcard or with visibility, like the banners or something else that you could then leverage over multiple years. And I think also it just helps any potential funder to see like they all have a return on their investment, that
Exactly.
this is building momentum,
Mhm.
and that it's coming as part of a comprehensive strategy. So
Right.
Need is people like you involved, because
Yeah, you're
yes, sorry. I promise those 2 things I can help with, and I can come to a board meeting and say to the board, like, you don't have to have a super fancy strategic plan, and I'm not saying you pay a lot of money for a consultant, but here's just some general things to think about, you know, a little bit of visioning and where you want to go. I mean,
and I have thought about that a little bit, but you know, to be honest, I get sidetracked myself on freelance projects and whatnot, and you know, and then I don't finish what I started in that realm, you know.
right.
I mean, you know, like everybody else, you know.
Can I ask, do you have a full board currently? Because I haven't looked at the website in a while, and I know Jay,
we have 12 board members.
Okay.
And it's a pretty, you know, but we've been trying to get more people involved. I feel like we haven't quite hit a critical mass of people yet, where I feel like if we had 10 or 15 more regulars who would come, we could get more brain power and people power. We don't have any committees. A lot of neighborhood associations have committees. We don't really have committees because we're lucky just to get a quorum at our, you know, we don't really have the momentum, and we need more. But everyone in this meeting I'm super impressed with, and you know, I just we have great people, but they're busy. No one wants to make a commitment. I feel like if we had a bunch more people, then we could start to get more commitment from people and start to do those kinds of strategic planning that you're talking about. So, but this is great. I'm loving this meeting personally. So I thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna have to knock off. I will make a promise that I will be in touch to follow up on what I said I can do.
You're at this meeting, which is wonderful. So.
Thanks. And so most likely the May meeting as well will be a Zoom meeting.
A Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So, and then is there an agenda or any key items for that?
You know,
so
it's
far?
actually supposed to be our election in May, but
We can put that off, you know, like
Yeah,
so
I mean-
stuff that recommended.
if it's anything like today, there's not nearly enough people to vote. So
No.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Okay.
yeah, we usually are pretty organized, and we have an agenda, and we have guests and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah,
But
I know.
obviously, everything's on hold right now.
Well, I
Um,
was just wondering if you expect a lot of turnover at the next election, or if the next May meeting would be an okay time to talk a little bit about what would go into some strategic planning,
Absolutely.
and I could help out a little bit with that.
That would be
hope you-
fine. We can talk about it.
I hope you come to the next meeting on Zoom, and let's set aside
Okay,
some
so-
time for that.
Okay, so but ahead of that, I would email the leadership of the association in terms of, here's some things. I mean, to be most effective, you have to do a little bit of homework.
Well, since you're talking about strategy, I'm kind of in that realm
Mhm.
because I'm looking at some of that. But you know, you have more experience in that, so I guess you could kind of contact me.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Looks like something happened here. I've lost something here.
Somebody's sharing a
Oh.
screen.
I'm trying to share my screen. Are
Oh,
you
that's
familiar
what's
with our
going on. That's
website?
Hey, there's a map.
Yeah, so this is our website, KernsPDX.org, and this links to our email. Here's the map of the community. So our website really has everything you need. Let's see, how do I?
Except we need to update the e-newsletters. I notice they're still not updated on there.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah,
you know, not updated.
yeah.
And I
need to-
had a meeting about it before, and I thought we straightened it out, but I still see they're not updated.
If you click here, you can't see it anymore. But well, let's talk about that separately.
Okay, well, I have to go, but what I'm gonna do is I just shared my email address in the chat function, so you can
I'll
reach
share
me there.
ours.
Okay, but I know how to access folks through the website as well as, like I said, I know Jay since he lives around the corner from me. So I'll be in touch. So thanks for letting
Thank
me
you very
join in
much.
today.
Let's
And
just close
have
up
a
the
great
meeting.
evening.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
joining. Okay.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.